Well, it could be worse. It's 33 degrees. There is a pretty good wind blowing through Lambeau Field. CH-53s flying by during the national anthem. Forecast for light snow, but all in all, on the 16th of November, not bad. Probably the most that these guys are going to have to deal with any part of the weather is the wind. It's windy down on that field, and watching these guys warm up prior to the start of this game, both quarterbacks were at times having trouble rifling it through that wind. Will Blackman's been a good kick returner for Green Bay, been bothered by a thigh issue after the game last week against the Vikings. He's set to go. Slapping his chest, he's ready to run. From inside the 5, Will Blackman brought down from behind, and a penalty comes flying in as Blackman got to the 24. A 23-yard return, and McBride made the stop. And we'll check the marker.
There is no foul for an illegal block in the back. First down, Green Bay.
They just said, you know what, that's a bad way to start a game. Let's just pick it up, and here we go. And here is this, I guess you can say, struggling offensive line for the Green Bay Packers. It has been 2 bad weeks in a row for them.
Yeah, it has. And last week they just did not do a very good job of protecting Aaron Rodgers, who, as you said, took 4 sacks in that game, but more importantly, took a number of hits.
First play is a handoff to Ryan Grant. Fights his way to the 30, a run of 6 yards, and doing it against a defense that's been outstanding against the run. Averaging under 75 yards per game on the ground, allowing for this defense. And there's the group up front. The linebackers, the familiar face of Brian Urlacher in the middle. And then the secondary, which has been under fire, not just through the media, but by opposing quarterbacks. They've been picking apart this secondary.
Well, that's the group that's going to have to hold up here today, but also they're going to have to get more production from those defensive ends.
See Darren College line up at left tackle as Ryan Grant is about a yard shy of a first down, and a flag comes in right at the end of the play. Clifton comes over to the sideline. They're looking at his left hand. Last year a Pro Bowler.
Holding, number 80, offense. 10-yard penalty. It's still second down.
So instead of 3rd and 1 after the hold against Donald Driver, it will move it back, and we first show you the penalty on number 80, Donald Driver.
Pretty easy call there by the official. These receivers do a good job getting involved in the running game, but here's a shot at Clifton. Right out of the box. Now, he has been banged up. I know he misses a lot of practice during the week. He's got sore knees. Of course, he's been in the league now 9 years.
Within all those penalty yards, that is the 13th offensive holding call called against Green Bay this season. That leads the league. A draw to Ryan Grant. How about Ryan Grant? Into Chicago territory to the 45, where Tillman brought him down after a 35-yard run. And Troy, that's the first run of over 20 yards for this Green Bay offense since week 1.
Well, this was something that he was able to do a lot of last year, and they've just been waiting for it to happen this season. As you said, they've just not had a lot of big runs. They open up a good hole there inside on the draw. Poor tackling by Chicago, and they talked about it. They got called on the hold on the previous play, but Greg Jennings doing a good job on Nathan Vasher on the outside.
So a first down at the Chicago 45 for Green Bay. And it's more from Ryan Grant. And he's to the 40. Did we actually have a head coach tell us the truth when he talked to us about what he wanted to do coming into a game? This is exactly what Mike McCarthy told you he wanted to do.
And that was somewhat surprising, especially considering how good Chicago has been against the run. But yet Mike McCarthy said that we want to establish the running game unless they start stacking the line of scrimmage and it forces us to throw. We want to come out and run the ball, and that they have. Ryan Grant, who missed a great deal of offseason work, missed the first week of training camp, got injured. They feel that he is just now getting back to where he was at the end of last year.
Second down and 5. And it's more for Ryan Grant, who gets popped right in the hole. He fights his way forward for an extra yard, picked up 2. And a third and rather short coming up, and Lance Briggs has the C come off his helmet after that hit on Ryan Grant. And Grant's been busy here in this opening possession. You think about it, you want to put stats to it. Last week, Lovie Smith's defense allowed only 20 yards rushing to Tennessee in a 7-point loss at home. And this is going to cost Green Bay 5.
Start number 72 offense, 5-yard penalty. It's still third down.
That's the right guard, Jason Spitz. And Darren College is still in the game out at left tackle as Chad Clifton is still on the sideline.
Well, last week I thought Ryan Grant did a good job of running the football against that Minnesota defense that's awfully good against the run as well. He didn't get more carries than he wanted because they were so bad on this down right here, only converting 1 of 11 opportunities last week on third down.
It's 3rd and 8. Rodgers a little pump fake. He hits Donald Lee, the tight end. And on 3rd down and 8, a gain of only 3. And the drive stalls at the 40. Urlacher on the stop for Chicago. And the punt team will come onto the field for Green Bay. Had a promising start, had the big run by Ryan Grant, but it hit the brakes at the 40.
Yeah, I think Green Bay's got to be disappointed in that possession, as well as they ran the football and were rolling pretty good, but with the penalty, unable then to convert on third down and come away with not even a field goal opportunity.
Here is Derek Frost, and this is a skill, trying to down it inside the 20. Devin Hester with a fair catch just inside the 10. We'll take a break, come back, and when we do, Kyle Orton, bad right ankle and all, will be on the field for Chicago. No score. That's Jeff and Sandy Kalo, who make interesting headwear up here in Green Bay as the rookie Forte runs right into the teeth of this defense. Picks up 2, and let's go down to the field and check in with Pam Oliver.
Hey there, Joe. Kyle Orton will have a little bit of support to help him with that injured ankle. The Bears have modified the shoe he'll be wearing on his right foot. Team trainer Tim Bream just told me that the shoe was made special by a company in Chicago. It is made with the help of a shoe cobbler as well. It's all designed to just give Orton a little bit more support.
All right, thank you, Pam. And there it is. Penalty flag came in on that run, and it's against Chicago as you look at the support.
Number 81 offense, 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. It's still second down.
Still second down, 10 yards from the spot of the foul where Rasheed Davis on the outside committed a holding foul.
Well, they got Donald Driver with the Packers on their first possession, and now they get Rasheed Davis, and not a whole lot there.
He didn't like the call.
No, and but I tell you what, to go back to the shoe that Kyle Orton's wearing, he also has what they call spatted his shoes as well, which is an extra layer of tape on both ankles.
Here's a quick throw, and Orton slings it into Desmond Clark, who makes the catch. Small gain of 4 yards, 3rd and long coming up for Chicago. I'm just glad to know that there are still cobblers working somewhere in the world. As we heard in the report from Pam Oliver. Well, there's the cobbled work trying to give the support in that right ankle that Kyle Orton has been so good this year for Chicago. 3rd and 7. Out of the shotgun, he throws, and he completes it to Olsen. A little juggling catch, and now Orton's having a tough time putting pressure on that right leg, and he might have tweaked that ankle right here at the start.
Well, you always wonder how it's going to hold up when you get into a game and then you're not able to consciously think about how it is that you're throwing the football, but he comes back. As you can see, Aaron Campman comes down on it. It didn't look like he gave him much of a shot, but just enough.
I mean, he's struggling getting up to the line right now, and what was originally diagnosed as a high ankle sprain might cost him a month, cost him only 1 game. The game that the Bears lost at home to Tennessee. No surprises, they tossed to Forte running left. A.J. Hawk in the middle of it, making a play after a gain of 1. And you know the story with the Bears by now. If you follow football at all, you've got Kyle Orton, who is the starter and has been very good this season for Chicago. His backup now is Rex Grossman, who was the quarterback who took this team to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, but who has had a tough time committing a lot of turnovers, threw 1 interception last week in that 7-point home loss to Tennessee.
Well, we all know this is an entirely different Bears football team with Rex Grossman at quarterback from where it is when Kyle Orton is playing.
2nd down and 9. And throwing off his back foot, up for grabs for Hester, and he made a one-handed catch, but a flag comes in, and it is pass interference. The call, will it be against Hester or against Green Bay? He was working on Al Harris.
Pass interference, number 23, offense, 10-yard penalty. It's still 2nd down.
See it right there with his right hand. He got it pushed right as the ball was coming in order to create separation. Great coverage there by Al Harris, and
that's not a catch anyway.
No, would not have been a completion. And Devin Hester, you know, this is his 2nd year now as a wide receiver. He's not had the big plays. His biggest reception is 32 yards. He's not had the big plays that they had anticipated. But he's still got a ways to go to be the polished receiver that they hope he will eventually become.
And it's also seemed to take a lot away from what he does in the return game. He's out of the shotgun. Forte carries it up to the 32. Call it the 31.5, a run of 9 yards, and that makes it more manageable on 3rd down for Chicago as they have the ball just outside their own 31.
Well, the Bears, as we're seeing, and this is really every week, is what they want to do. They want to run the football, and if you look at their yards per game, it's a little misleading. It would lead you to believe that they're in the middle of the pack as far as running the football, 15th ranking in the National Football League, but as far as yards per carry, they're much worse than that.
3rd down and 10. Orton steps up and throws too high for Rasheed Davis. It's 4th down. That ball took off on Orton, and one thing you and I talked about before this game started is during the warm-up period with these quarterbacks out there, it's impressive. We saw it last year in a game at Soldier Field between the Bears and the Packers. Orton really throws a good tight spiral in windy conditions.
And if you're going to play in Chicago, you better be able to do that.
Here's Blackman, who has been outstanding, actually better than Devin Hester this year at returning punts. Last week had 1 return for a touchdown at the Vikings, has 2 on the year. Maynard hits it, hangs it high, and Blackman gets a block out in front of him and then takes a seat as they will mark him at the 27. Davis on the stop, a 2-yard return. 2nd possession for the Packers, no score. There is no atmosphere like the atmosphere here at Lambeau Field. It's almost collegiate. The way that it feels here watching a football game. It is a special experience here, and the Packers have it for the 2nd time in this game. The play action from Rodgers has one-on-one with Driver. Donald Driver makes the catch as he was working against Tillman. Good for 16 yards, and a big chunk of yardage picked up on that throw to Donald Driver.
Well, we saw Mike Brown, the safety. He's working up, and he's going to create the 8th guy for run defense, which is something that the Bears have gotten to more this year. And the Packers, because they came out in that first possession running the football, they go play action, get Aaron Rodgers out of the pocket a little bit, and then one-on-one on the outside.
Game break coming up. First down, Green Bay. Rodgers over the middle. Hits Donald Lee, his tight end. He's to midfield. And here's Kurt Menefee with a game break.
And here's a look at the Ravens and Giants opening drive. Brandon Jacobs, 5 carries, 52 yards, including the dive in from the yard out. Just like that, Giants on top, 7-0. Back to Green Bay, Joe, Troy, and Payne.
I tell you, if you like old school football, Joe, that's a great one to watch right there. The #1 rushing offense with the Giants against the #1 run defense in the Baltimore Ravens.
Ray Lewis is all charged up for that meeting. He'll have his hands full with earth, wind, and fire from the Giants, and that will cost Green Bay another 5.
Ball start, number 73, offense, 5-yard penalty. It's still 2nd down.
A couple guys along that offensive line they could have called that against, and We probably beat it up last week at the Vikings, but it's just something that every week is a problem for Mike McCarthy's team. It's one penalty after another.
And generally speaking, you don't see winning football teams, have the kind of penalties that the Packers have. That's one of the reasons, one of many, why they're 4-5 right now.
Handoff is to Ryan Grant, gets to the edge. And Grant is forced out just short of first down yardage. Picked up 7. And it was Kevin Payne out there to make the stop for the Chicago defense. And it will bring up 3rd down and a yard.
Pretty good start right there for Ryan Grant. We all know what he was able to do last year, almost 1,000 yards in basically 10 games. Signed a new contract. Came into this year with high expectations, and I think just really here over the last few weeks has he been as productive as what they had hoped.
Handoff is to the fullback and a first down carry for John Kuhn. A gain of 3, and that's just his 3rd carry of the season. Yeah, they've been waiting, Troy, for Ryan Grant to show the form that he finished 2007 with. His last 10 games last year had 929 yards, 8 rushing touchdowns, and he started off this season, has only a 3.6 yard average and 2 rushing touchdowns on the year. This is Driver. Nice move. Out of bounds near the 30. Forced out by Griggs after a 14-yard completion to Donald Driver.
Right now, I like what Green Bay's doing as far as mixing things up. You're going to see Mike Brown again. He drops down in. They want to stop the running game first. But by doing that, then you create one-on-one matchups on the outside, and that's where Chicago has had some problems this year. Nathan Basher, who has been struggling this year, of course, he came off the wrist injury a few weeks ago, is unable to make a tackle in the open field. Good job of execution by the Packers.
Rodgers guns it over the middle for the rookie Jordy Nelson. 19-yard completion down to the 12.
Chad Clifton, who last week we talked about, he struggled against Jared Allen and the Minnesota Vikings. He's wanting a little redemption this week, and he's working against Mark Anderson, who's had some struggles of his own. But Aaron Rodgers with a clean pocket. This time the Bears kept safeties deep. The void in that defense is in the middle, and that's where they threw the ball.
Aaron Rodgers has started this battle 5 for 5 throwing the football. First down, Green Bay. Here's another. Donald Driver. And he hands off. They're going to say Driver was down as Jason Spitz was surprised to get the football and thought he had a touchdown. Why not? Give it a shot. It almost worked.
Well, it's always nice when you can reward the big boys. his right elbow down, clearly.
Didn't hear a whistle. Actually popped right out of his hands as it was knocked free. Mike Brown is under there. And now that's not good for Green Bay as Driver hobbles off.
Yeah, and Driver's been battling through some injuries this year. Not many people know about it. He's got a turf toe that may have been re-aggravated on that last play.
Driver with 3 catches on the drive. Jennings gets his first and a touchdown.
Yeah, they got the slant earlier to Donald Driver, and if you're going to play the Green Bay Packers, you got to expect this. This is a real staple in their offense. You cannot let the receiver get to the inside. Corey Graham lined up inside to start the play, but then he just didn't hold his inside position.
And now the extra point. And Aaron Rodgers, who has had back-to-back weeks where he has struggled, 7 for 7, 71 yards and a touchdown to start his day. 7-0 Green Bay. 6 for 6 on the drive, 7 for 7 for the day for Aaron Rodgers. But like you said, Troy, you can talk about the completions, and we will show that touchdown catch by Jennings again. But what started all that is the success of the running game. And if the Packers are going to get Chicago to sell out to stop the run, they should have a field day against this secondary.
Yeah, and they will. And if you can get both things working, you're running the football and then your play action is working as it did in that series, that really creates some problems for a defense.
Here's Devin Hester, still looking for the big return this season, forced out of bounds by Corey Hall after a return of 27 yards. That is the bad news, however, on that drive. Donald Driver injured the last time the Pack had it. Back to the heated bench for Brian Urlacher and the Chicago defense as the Bears offense goes to work with 2:23 left in the first quarter here at Lambeau. 7-0 Packers. Second possession for Chicago and a completion to Matt Forte, and working on the middle linebacker A.J. Hawk, a completion of 9 yards.
We'll go back and take a look at this touchdown to Greg Jennings, and Corey Graham, the defensive back, second-year player in good position right here. But as you're going to see, he does not jump inside and take away this slant, and this is just too easy of a completion for the Packers. Anytime you get down there as a defensive back, you have to take away the inside, particularly when you're man-to-man, one-on-one, and force them to throw it to the outside, whether that's on a fade or an outside breaking route.
On second down, Forte gets it and picks up a first down for Chicago out across the 45. When we look at this offense, it's been the same 5 starters across the offensive line for Chicago, and we highlight the rookie Matt Forte, who hasn't been overwhelming running the football, but the total package with what he's done receiving throws from Kyle Orton has been impressive.
He's been everything that they had hoped that he would be and more, and he's been a great leader. I mean, that's hard for a young player to come in and have that kind of presence, but he has had it.
More from Forte over the left side and fights for 3. Let's go for a game break. Here's Kurt.
You guys talking young quarterbacks, maybe it's time to talk about Tyler Thigpen. The Chiefs QB finds Dwayne Bowe, and in the last 3+ games, Thigpen has 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Kansas City with a 7-0 lead right now. Joe, Troy, and Pam.
Growing pains. Yeah, thanks, Kurt. Growing pains for Kansas City. And her words, it's the youngest roster in the NFL, but they're getting experience and trying to get better. There's Greg Olsen at the bottom of the screen. Orton looks in that direction and hits him. Working on Tramon Williams. So they had a cornerback out there on the big tight end, and it was good for 7.
Yeah, and that's what the Bears wanted to see, is how the Packers would react to this set. When they put the tight ends out wide, they had Olsen out one side, they had Desmond Clark, the other tight end, wide on the other side. Are they going to go with linebackers out on the tight ends, or are they going to play them as wide receivers? They obviously played them as wide receivers there with the cornerback over the top, but yet they still got the completion.
That's it for the first quarter, and it's a 7-0 Green Bay lead. And the Packers up 1-0 in the Lambeau lead category. Back after this from your local Fox station. A live Scrabble game has broken out in the crowd here. Not sure exactly what they're trying to spell. That's when I wish we still had Collinsworth with us. We could send him down there and find out what it was. Handoff is to Forte. And Matt Forte is down to the 40, a run of 4 yards. And here is the defense up front. I mean, this is a defense that's been criticized for not stopping the run. The stats are terrible, but the big change is A.J. Hawk at middle linebacker.
Yeah, pretty significant loss when they lost Nick Barnett last week, and he's the emotional leader of the football team. But you know, A.J. Hawk gives him a little more size there in the middle. I think that it's going to be interesting to see how well he holds up on that inside. Much different position than playing outside.
Second down and 6, and Forte is brought down by Pickett. Jason Hunter was the first one out there. Pickett made the eventual tackle, a run of only 1 yard. Third down coming up in 5 for Chicago.
Well, I know in previous weeks that the Packers have not done a very good job of stopping the run. A lot of that was because of assignments and breakdown and gap control. Last week, They gave up a season-high 220 yards to the Minnesota Vikings, and yet you get the feeling talking to their coaches they were optimistic about the improvement that they had made because that was more a result of poor tackling than anything else.
3rd down and 5. Out of the shotgun, a blitz, and that's Forte. He makes the catch, stays in bounds, and gets forced out at the 14-yard line. Troy, the Bears have run 14 plays on offense, and Forte has touched it 10 times.
Well, he comes into this game as the leading receiver. He starts in the backfield. The Packers bring pressure, and that means there's a one-on-one matchup with Nick Collins. And Nick Collins just gets sucked up inside. He was not expecting Forte to go out into the route, thought he would be in protection.
And now a challenge by Mike McCarthy, who hadn't challenged one until last week. It was unsuccessful, and we'll see what they're challenging here. Maybe the spot of the football. But the catch.
This is the first charge timeout.
Clearly made. Now with. They're saying timeout, but Mike McCarthy is challenging a play, and I think he's challenging where they're spotting the football.
I think you're right. I think we saw his left foot. May have been on the line of scrimmage about 10 yards further up the field.
See Mike McCarthy say the 21. That's what they're challenging. We'll come back and get the call after this. Troy and I have disagreed for the first time in 2.5 years as we looked at it on the replay. Troy thinks they're going to bring the ball back to the 21. I say they're going to let the call stand.
Okay, well, we'll find out.
Either way, it's a 7-yard difference. And I don't know if it's worth the challenge, especially if it's not that clear cut. To throw the challenge flag on that, I don't know that it's worth taking the risk, losing a timeout, losing a challenge. But we'll get the call here shortly from Walt Anderson.
Well, in the official, as you said, Joe, he's right there, but Mike McCarthy was right there as well. It was on his sideline, so obviously he felt pretty good about it.
The runner stepped out of bounds at the 21-yard line. It will be first down for Chicago at that spot. Green Bay will not be charged with a timeout.
Well, there you go. You're right again. I think you were right 2.5 years ago when we had whatever our disagreement was then. And so it's first down at the 21 instead of the 14-yard line for Chicago as they trail by 7. And each side with 3 timeouts remaining. And boy, Matt Forte has been front and center just about every time, whether they've handed it to him or thrown it to him. And talking to Kyle Orton leading into this game, he said, well, without Nick Barnett at middle linebacker, they're going to see a lot of Matt Forte in pass routes, and we're going to feature him, and they have so far. Orton steps up, throws, and out of the reach of Marty Booker. 2nd and 10.
Well, you saw the face there of Kyle Orton. He was wanting to go to Marty Booker, but Marty Booker fell down. He starts to the inside, and well, he didn't just fall down. Al Harris gave him a little help there. But he hung with him long enough, knowing that if he could get back on his feet, he may have a chance for a play. But by that time, Al Harris had just made up too much ground.
They threw to Booker, the Bears did, 7 times last week. Didn't have a catch. Doesn't have a catch in over 2 games now.
Yeah, it looks like he's hobbling around a little bit, too.
Here is Forte. And the rookie Matt Forte is to the 17, gain 4, 3rd and 6 coming up. And Forte, who was a 2nd-round find from Tulane, has solidified a position that has been kind of a revolving door for the Bears the last few years.
Yeah, it sure has, and he's given them something that they can bank on week in and week out, knowing the type of player that he is. And he's also a 3-down back. He rarely comes off the field, and that was one of the other attractions when they went and drafted him back in April.
10th play of this drive. Orton has it knocked down. Johnny Jolly, I think, got his hand up and knocked it away. And it's 4th down, so the field goal unit comes on. And there is Jolly right in the middle. And got his big left hand on it as Orton tried to get it to the tight end Desmond Clark,
who was being covered by A.J. Hawk, and that's as we talked about, that's going to be a big part of this game plan defensively for Green Bay, is how well do they cover these tight ends. That's generally where the Bears like to throw the football.
35-yard try for Robbie Gould. Good snap, good hold. The kick is perfect. And the Bears are on the scoreboard here at Lambeau. Good start, good game. Second quarter, 12-12 left, 7-3 Packers. Bundled up against the wind and the cold is Orton. Both quarterbacks have started out very well. Only a couple of incompletions here in the first half between them. And Will Blackman and Jordy Nelson are waiting deep for this kick from Gould, who kind of pops it up. It's going to be a tough play. Blackman gets it almost behind him and now trying to find room to run. Can't make it to the 20. Stelz on the tackle after they called the infield fly rule on that kickoff. 6-yard return. Rodgers and company back to work.
Everybody win that individual battle. If they land up in front of you, we're going to be agile, mobile, and hostile. Woo! Pack on 3. 1, 2, 3, 1.
Green Bay offense started the game with 4 rushes by Ryan Grant for 48 yards. That opened up the passing game, and look at how Aaron Rodgers has started. 7 for 7. Grant 5 carries, now 55 yards. Driver 3 catches. He banged his knee on that last possession. He's back on the field. First down for Green Bay, and Rodgers in trouble. Buys some time and throws it in the direction of Humphrey, incomplete.
Thank you, Humphrey.
And Aaron Rodgers did all he could, trying to buy a little time and find an open receiver, and there was nobody open.
Well, and as you see right now, the Bears on first down going with 2 deep coverage, 2 deep safeties. And that's why Aaron Rodgers really had nowhere to go with the football. That's a real staple of this defense. It's what they call Tampa 2, but it is something that the Bears had gotten away from. And so on early downs, the Packers come in thinking they're going to get one-on-one matchups. They have sometimes today, but that time they guessed wrong.
Little toss, as it turns out, to Ryan Grant, who makes a little extra move on Brown and picks up 7. This January, Fox once again brings you the greatest week in college football, beginning with the FedEx Orange Bowl, the All-State Sugar Bowl, the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, and the FedEx BCS National Championship game. It's college football's biggest games this January, only right here on Fox. Third down and 3 for the Packers, leading by 4. And a handoff to Grant. First down, Green Bay, as Mike Brown delivered the hit. First, Grant got over the line to gain, and then after the hit, it's almost like they push the football back. And it depends on the spot, and Grant is hurt after that hit by Mike Brown.
Well, they sure made it closer than what it looked like it was going to be. Mike Brown just comes out of center field and takes a shot on Ryan Grant. Ryan, I don't even know that he expected anybody to be in the hole. You know, he was able to clear a little bit of the defense, got there in the middle, and then Mike Brown just come out of nowhere.
They gave Green Bay the first down, but now the concern is for Ryan Grant on the sideline. Brandon Jackson is in a tailback, and he gets it. Running over the left side, and now a Chicago defense, which has had no trouble stopping the run this year, is given up 8-9 yards a carry. That was good for 9 by Brandon Jackson.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why the Packers are running the football maybe a little bit better today than what some other teams have is because the Bears are really mixing things up defensively. And they're mixing some things up defensively, and they're not just playing 8-man fronts, which is predominantly what they have been doing in these other games and why they have been so good against the run.
Second down and 1, and a handoff is to Jackson. And another big run by this Green Bay offense. Briggs makes the stop after a gain of 7, and it's another first down for Green Bay. And a shake of the head from Brian Urlacher, who hasn't seen his team. They come in allowing 74.9 rush yards per game. That is the fewest allowed by Chicago since 1942, and they've already allowed 84 rushing yards today. Still over 9 minutes left in the first half. Why not stick with it? Jackson gets it on a toss. A cutback right through the heart of this defense. Good for 7. Here's a game break. Here's Kurt Menefee.
A look at another NFC North team, the Vikings at Tampa, and that's Gus Frerotte, the Bobby Wade, and the former Bear gets into the end zone, and Minnesota is up 10-3 on the road in the second quarter. Joe, Troy, and Pam, take it away.
All right, Kurt, and one more stat for you as you look at Ryan Grant. Green Bay is averaging over 8 yards per rush. 2nd and 3, and they'll just stick with it, and Jackson gets another first down. A run of 6 yards, and the Green Bay offense is cramming it right down the throat of this Chicago defense.
Well, the Packers come out in a passing formation. They go to a bunch set. They motion Torrey Humphrey back into the backfield, and then he's going to be a blocker, a lead blocker here for Brandon Jackson. You see they get him ISO there on Lance Briggs. He's able to cut in there. Good job right now by this offensive line of Green Bay.
Another run. Mike Brown made a hit which slowed down Jackson, a gain of only 1. And now Ryan Grant, who was injured on that hit by Mike Brown on a first down carry moments ago, is back onto the field. Word is from the sideline, he just had the wind knocked out of him.
Hey, Mike Brown, he's flying around, and it's nice to have him back on the field for the Chicago Bears. He's missed so many games. Of course, he's played every game this year. But over the years, they've just had a hard time keeping him healthy.
After 7 straight runs, a completion to Ryan Grant, who's to the 35. 6-yard catch and a little run at the end of it. Graham on the stop. And a 3rd and short coming up for Green Bay.
And you talk about the start that Aaron Rodgers has had here in this ball game, and I don't think it's just coincidence that this was the first week since week 4 when he injured his shoulder, Joe, against Tampa Bay, that he has practiced all 3 days. He got all the work on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and that was a point of emphasis. I know going back to last week's game, Mike McCarthy felt that some of his mechanics and fundamentals were just a little off.
Little roll out to the right for Aaron Rodgers. Stops and finds Jordy Nelson. And a flag comes in at the end of the play. It's enough for first down yardage, and we will check the marker along the sideline.
I'm not sure if Jordy Nelson went out of bounds and then was the first to touch the ball. That's what it looked like. He was working that sideline, trying to get back down the line of scrimmage. But here he is, and he gets pushed out, and then he can't be the first guy to touch the football.
Number 87 of the offense went out of bounds, came back in bounds, and was the first to touch the pass. He lost it down at the previous spot. It's 4th down.
So that's a big call as you lose the down, and so now it's 4th down with the ball at the 35, and you're right on the edge of field goal range. So it looks like Green Bay will just go for it. Offense stays out there for 4th and 3. This is a Chicago defense that has allowed the opposition 3 times in 10 tries to convert on 4th down. And we're still not ready to play as Walt Anderson had a meeting with Lovie Smith near the Chicago sideline. It's interesting. He was talking to Lovie Smith, but then Walt Anderson comes back on, and he'll say this.
There's a correction on the enforcement. The receiver reestablished it was a completed pass. Therefore, it is a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot, and it is 3rd down.
So now they're saying that Jordy Nelson reestablished both feet in bounds before he stepped out of bounds, and we'll take another look as he was shoved out, in essence, by the body of Tillman. He came back in, made the catch. It's a 5-yard penalty. It pushes him back to make it 3rd and 8 instead of 4th and 3. Rodgers steps up down the middle, and he's picked off by Urlacher. His first interception of the season. Driver, the intended receiver, and Aaron Rodgers threw it right into the arms of Brian Urlacher, who finally makes a play covering a pass for the Chicago defense.
Well, here's Urlacher making some calls prior to that snap. And then he's got the middle of the field, and he's running with the receiver down the middle. They had a chance for him down if they were able to make a deeper throw. You see Aaron Rodgers. Receiver gets in behind Urlacher, but just a ball that's underthrown. Donald Driver definitely had a step on him. You're going to see Urlacher then has to carry that inside receiver down the middle, and Donald Driver 5 yards behind him. But a ball that was just underthrown by Aaron Rodgers and an easy interception for Urlacher.
Classic Tampa 2 defense by the Chicago Bears, and now Forte carries it over the right side and picks up 7 before he's brought down by Nick Collins. And for Urlacher, he has his first interception of the season. He has no sacks on the year. Last year had a much more productive season, not only with the sacks but with the interceptions. Showed up a lot more in this defense, and that had to feel good in an important game here at Lambeau.
Yeah, I think Lovie Smith has challenged Brian Urlacher this week, and that they need to see more big plays from him.
Here is Forte, who's up to the 19. Montgomery on the tackle, a gain of 2, 3rd and 1 coming up for Chicago with about 5.5 left in this first half.
You know, I'll tell you, though, I know there's been a lot of discussion in Chicago this week about what they've been doing defensively and stacking the line and stopping the running game, and what quarterbacks have done throwing the football against them here over the last month of the season. Lovie Smith and Bob Babich have mixed things up here in this first half.
Here is Forte, and he is brought down shy of the 20. Forte on the season had been 5 of 6 on 3rd and 1. A.J. Hawk, the middle linebacker, and Johnny Jolly stuffed the play for the Green Bay defense, and they hold on 3rd and 1.
It's a good stop there by the Green Bay Packers. You're going to see Johnny Jolly right in the middle. He gets the inside push, gives them no cutback lane. Defensive front holds their ground. After the interception and giving the ball to the Bears, a 3 and out.
So the Packers stop the run, something they have not been able to do all season, as Maynard knocks it out of bounds inside the 35-yard line, where it'll be first down for Green Bay as they lead by 4. Here's a guy who has seen it all here with the Green Bay Packers, witnessing his 125th Packers-Bears game here today, the great Lee Remmel, who is now a historian for this organization. And when you talk about history and names, and I mean just a stadium and certainly an organization that is dripping with history here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. 4:22 left in the first half. First down from their own 35, and Ryan Grant. Another possession. That ball popped out. Grant was down when it came out, and Grant crossed the 40, picked up 6. Grant, who has 3 fumbles on the season, called down before that ball popped out. 2nd and 4
from the 41.
Grant again, and a good play was made by Urlacher, a gain of 1. So 3rd down coming up for the Packers.
Yeah, good play there by Brian Urlacher, just scraping off the defensive end and keeping Ryan Grant from going anywhere. And the Bears that time went back to the 2-deep coverage, and so they're trying to defense the run there with 7 people. And that's something that this Bears defense was able to do as well as anybody for a long time.
Urlacher with 4 tackles and an interception in this half. 3rd and 4. Rodgers to his right and now finds a wide open receiver, James Jones, and a big completion on 3rd down of 18 yards. 7th catch of the season for Jones.
Well, what you're going to see is Charles Tillman is going to get a jam there on James Jones, and then it opens up to Boyd. But the reason Tillman had to get off of him was because Donald Lee then went to the flat. And when Donald Lee went to the flat, it forced Tillman to then cover Donald Lee, which opened up that hole.
Here's Ryan Grant, who was dragged down by Urlacher, a gain of 4. Troy, this is the Chicago defense that has 3 defensive players who are basically paid like quarterbacks in this league. Urlacher is one of them. Tommy Harris is another. His cap number is just under $12 million this season, and Lance Briggs is the other. And as we are at the 2-minute warning here at Lambeau, the Bears are asking that defense and those members of it to step up. 7-3, Green Bay with the football. This is the Packers' 4th possession. They've taken the ball into Bears territory every time they've had it, but have only 7 points on the scoreboard. Last time down here, Rodgers threw an interception, and so far this week compared to last week, his body is having an off week. Last week he was pounded by the Vikings. Different story today as he tried to force that in, and a flag comes in on the coverage of Driver. Tillman and Brown were there defending, and it's Tillman with the initial coverage.
Number 30. Defense. 1st down.
Well, they got him with his right hand. I mean, initially he came up, he made contact within the 5 yards. Everything's fine there. But then when Driver went to the slant, Tillman had his right hand around the waist of Donald Driver, and the official had a good look at it.
Yeah, you heard Walt Anderson say 30. It was on 33, Tillman. 1st down, Green Bay now at the Chicago 30. And the inside handoff is to Grant. He withstands a hit from Mike Brown and picks up 8.
Looked like Rodgers might have fumbled that ball when he got it. And we'll take a look and see exactly what happened. Well, yeah, he took his eyes off it. He turned his head before he got the snap. Unfortunate in order to get that one handed off. Good block on the outside. Corey Humphrey, the tight end. We've been using him quite a bit there in the fullback position. He's been pretty key on some of these runs that Ryan Grant has had.
Here is Grant left side. 1st down and more. Ryan Grant out of bounds just shy of the end zone. Kevin Payne to force him out after an 18-yard run, and it has been a dominant run game by Green Bay in this half.
Yeah, watch Corey Hall. He leads the way. He makes a good block there on Nick Roach. And that's enough in order to get Ryan Grant through the line of scrimmage, but then you got to be able to make tackles. Nathan Basher trying to get off a block. He's not able to get him to the ground, and it's not until Kevin Payne pushes him out of bounds.
18-yard carry. Grant's already over 100 yards for the day. His second 100-yard day of the season. 1st and goal from the 4. Why not more Grant? How about a touchdown, Green Bay?
I mean, first, John Kuhn does a great job of getting the kick out, and then you're going to see the right side of this line. Watch the kick out block here, and then this surge along the right side of the offensive line just pushes everybody right back into the end zone. I mean, before there's contact made, you can see he's running into green shirts.
The defense and the players on it have been paid like the stars for the Chicago Bears, and so far in this first half, in this matchup in the NFC North, the Green Bay Packers have lined up and crammed it right down their throats. leading 14-3. Grant's knocking everybody over. An impressive day on the ground for this Green Bay offense, and in particular Ryan Grant. And then when he was out there, Brandon Jackson. Doesn't matter who. The offensive line has had a field day for Green Bay, and it's been a long while coming for them. It's been a couple of rough weeks back to back, and Ryan Grant has his second 100-yard day of the season, and there's the group responsible for it, along with the fullback for the Packers.
Yeah, it was a good drive by the Packers, and as you said, the offensive line, which really did not do a very good job last week. They've come out here today, whether it's protecting Aaron Rodgers or creating some holes for that running game, they've played well.
Crosby hits it, and it's Hester from near his own goal line. Going to try and reverse direction, and a penalty flag comes in as Devin Hester, who has been not a factor at all returning kicks or punts this season.
Holding number 20 for the receiving team. After this is to the goal. First down.
Just a 13-yard return by Devin Hester, and now Chicago will start even closer to their own end zone. There's a look at the NFC North. It really appears that as we go through the season now, this is a division that's battling for one playoff spot, the division winner, and it couldn't be any more tight at the top.
There's no question. And you look at Green Bay coming into this game. I mean, this is a big football game for them. It's big. Anytime you're within your division, it's a big game for Chicago. But for a team that's coming off a couple of losses last 2 weeks, and if you are the team that you thought you were coming into this season, then this is a game against a divisional opponent that you should win. And they have come out here, at least in this first half, and have made a real statement.
Green Bay takes a timeout on defense. Didn't have enough players on the field. Timeout, Green Bay. Visa halftime report coming up. Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy scores and highlights from around the league. The Fox Sports ticker will keep you updated with up to the second stats. Starting at their own 6. With an immobile quarterback with a bad right ankle, down by 11. John St. Clair, the left tackle, moved. And the flags and whistles stopped the play before it started, as Orton was trying to air it out for Devin Hester.
False start, number 78, offense. After this is to the goal. Still first down.
Of course, John St. Clair, he's playing this year because of the injury to their number 1 draft pick, Chris Williams, who had back surgery. And John St. Clair has played actually pretty well with the false start there. But through the first half of this season, he's done a pretty good job, and there's no plans right now to work Chris Williams back into the lineup.
First down and 14, and a handoff is to Forte. And I think Chicago's just going to try and get out of here in a 14-3 game, and that's why Mike McCarthy was so upset he had to use a timeout at the beginning of this drive when his defense didn't have enough players on the field. It was a timeout that they basically wasted, and now they're left with only 1 and just 58 seconds left in this first half. You look at our slate of games next Sunday on Fox. San Francisco will be at Dallas. Troy, Pam, and I will be there. Philly at Baltimore, Chicago in St. Louis, Tampa Bay at Detroit, and Minnesota at Jacksonville. That's a big game in this division. Late game of the doubleheader, the Giants out in the desert, Washington at Seattle, and Carolina at Atlanta.
Yeah, the Giants off to a good start today against the Ravens. And Joe, I really think that the Giants and the Falcons are really the only 2 teams in the NFC that I've seen get better each week as this season has gone along.
Surprised that Chicago's going to try and air it out. The pass is incomplete for Hester. And what they've done here is give Green Bay, with that incompletion, an opportunity to get the ball back with what should be good field position, because they tried to air it out for Devin Hester and it was incomplete to stop the clock.
Yeah, it was a pretty good throw there by Kyle Orton, but it's one that, yeah, you're right. I mean, if you don't complete, Now you put yourself in a pretty tough position. I think if you throw it on second down, you may as well try to pick it up here. But then if you don't complete the pass or don't get the first down, now you give it to Green Bay with one timeout left.
Now they're going to run it. They don't get it. Green Bay can use their final timeout. That was really poorly handled by the Chicago Bears, in my estimation, as now 49 seconds remain, and Green Bay should end up with good field position and a chance to get more points before the half.
Yeah, they could have run it down pretty good and forced Green Bay to use their last timeout following the second down play, run it on third, and then when you're giving it back to Green Bay, there's not much time left. But as you said, now there's going to be plenty of time for Green Bay with what should be awfully good field position. And if you're the defense for Chicago, you're not real happy about this one.
You have to go back out onto the field and try to defend. Meanwhile, Blackman is a threat anyway to make something happen returning a punt. He has 2 for touchdowns this season and an average of over 13 yards per punt return. Second best in the league to Reggie Bush. Maynard hits a knuckleball. And it will hop out of bounds inside Chicago territory, just outside the 40, and they're going to mark it right at the 40-yard line. Well, the play calling by the Bears has a hand in this, and it'll be first down at the 40, and you're only 10 yards or maybe even less away from a legitimate field goal try by Crosby.
Yeah, and Mason Crosby has one of the strongest legs in the league, so you don't need much here.
No timeouts left for Green Bay. Bears back out of the blitz, and underneath it's Jackson. He can't get to the boundary. He's to the 35. With half a minute left in the half, Lance Briggs on the stop.
Well, they're talking about clocking it. I would just as soon call a play here if I'm Aaron Rodgers.
Ball.
Instead, right into the ground to stop the clock with 25 seconds left, but now it's third down.
You know, you get into a situation like that, and there's so much time that's coming off the clock as you're trying to get everybody to the line and then let them know that you want to clock it, that I often think you're better off in most situations of going ahead and calling a play and executing that and seeing what you can get on the completion, or if you don't complete it, the clock's going to stop anyway. Now they're faced with third down.
And it would be a 53-yard field goal try from here. Perfect conditions. That's in the range of Mason Crosby. 3rd and 5. Rodgers in trouble, throws, and it's incomplete. 4th down with 20 seconds left. Pressure by Urlacher to force Aaron Rodgers out of the pocket. And now Mason Crosby will come on and attempt a 53-yard field goal.
Yeah, and by spiking it, that's what happens. Then you lose it down. You don't get anything there on 3rd down. And as good a situation as what Green Bay had when they got that ball, they really didn't do much with it. A good job by Chicago defensively. And now it's just a matter of whether or not Mason Crosby has the leg.
This would tie his career long. He hits it well and makes it. And with 15 seconds left in the half, it's a 14-point game here at Lambeau. And that had plenty of distance on it from Mason Crosby, who hits this his first try since missing what could have been a game winner, a 52-yard try last week at the Vikings.
I'll tell you what, that's a huge kick right there going in at half. I mean, right now the Packers prior to that already had the momentum on their side, but you know, when they backed Chicago up, I don't think anyone on the sidelines really thought that they would be afforded an opportunity to come away with 3 points at the end of this half, and yet that's exactly what they were able to get. That's a big deal here for the Green Bay Packers,
who now lead by 14. 15 seconds left in the half. All of us at Fox would like to take this opportunity to send our best wishes to Len Eilenfeld, who's currently battling a serious illness. Len manned the Green Bay sideline for nearly 30 years. Talk about a guy who's seen it all around here. As a timeout coordinator for all the networks that rolled through town. Worked Super Bowl for Fox. during the process, and he is truly considered a local institution, a friend of all of ours, not only at Fox, but ESPN and ABC, CBS, NBC. Our thoughts and prayers go out to Len and his family. Here is Devin Hester on the return. And Devin Hester will get out across the 30, gives a shot to Tremont Williams in the face, and that draws a flag. It's probably all academic with only 8 seconds left, but Devin Hester gave a shot up into the face of Tremont Williams.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 90, Green Bay. That's a 15-yard penalty, first down.
So they don't throw the flag on this.
Yeah, and that should have been a penalty there.
That's clear.
And they got Colin Cole at the end of that play for really protecting himself. He's going to be on the sidelines, and he puts up his arms just to kind of protect himself. That was, granted, he went to the helmet, but I don't think Colin Cole meant anything by it, but the penalty should have been on Devin Hester for going to the headgear.
What's Colin Cole supposed to do? Disappear?
That's a hard thing for him to do.
So now 8 seconds left, and you're one completion away from maybe getting a shot at a field goal here at the end of the half. As Orton throws for Booker, incomplete. Broken up by Atari Bigby, and now just 2 seconds are left in the half, and it's Hail Mary time from the Chicago Bears. But that call defied logic, and it has at least given the Bears a little hope of making something happen here at the end of the half, as the ball is at the Chicago 47 because of the 15-yard penalty on Colin Cole, and Chicago will just hand it off. And Forte picks up 9. And that's it. Johnny Jolly on the stop. We are through one half here at Lambeau Field. And it is a 14-point Green Bay Packer lead, trying to even their season record at 5-5, send Chicago to 5-5, while Minnesota, 5-4, tied atop the division, is playing down in Tampa, Florida. They're also the Packers trying to hand Lovie Smith his first loss as head coach of Chicago here at Lambeau. 17-3 at the half. Visa halftime cup. Applause from Aaron Rodgers, who has his team up by 14 points at the half. Start of the third quarter is moments away. You look at the first half stats, rushing yards. Look at what Green Bay has done against a Chicago defense that's been so good against the run all year. And Troy, I think both you and I thought coming into this game that we'd be talking about a ground game, but for the way this season has gone so far, we thought we might be talking about the Chicago ground game, and instead it's been Green Bay so far.
Yeah, Green Bay's been running the football very well, and I think partly because Chicago has gone to trying to play a little bit more coverage. They've done a good job against the run. They've been getting beat up pretty good, in pass defense, so they're trying to mix it up a little bit, but as a result, they've given up the yards on the ground. Chicago offensively, 5 completions by Kyle Orton there in that first half, but none to a wide receiver. And I think that right now, that's one of the keys. Of course, you're playing against an awfully good group in the secondary with Green Bay. You like the matchups inside, but these wide receivers on the outside, they have to become a factor also.
It can't be too early for Chicago to abandon the run. I mean, I think they still have to make Green Bay prove that they can stop the ground game, and if that's the case, well then you have to go to the outside and test this very good Green Bay Packers secondary. But it's just a 14-point game with certainly plenty of time left.
No doubt, still plenty of time. I mean, there's a whole second half here to be played, and Matt Forte actually has run the ball pretty well, when he's been given the ball, and that's going to be the key for them. You got to test this Packers defense and make sure that what they've been doing in the past is maybe something you can continue to exploit.
Only 5 first downs so far for the Chicago Bears as Devin Hester takes it in, looking for a big return. A penalty flag comes in, and Hester stepped out of bounds. before the spot where they're going to mark him down, but there's a flag down back at the Chicago 35-yard line. We'll get the call from Walt Anderson, who has been busy.
During the return, legal block and yard lead, first down.
It's Hunter Hillenmeyer, who is back after thumb surgery, active today, not starting. There for the block in the back. So instead of the big return, it moves the ball all the way back to the 26 of Chicago. And they start with it down by 14. Orton with a good pocket, slings it too high for Desmond Clark. 2nd and 10. Let's go down to Pam Oliver.
Hey there, Joe. Mike McCarthy reminded me of a couple of things. He said we wanted to come into this ball game and run the ball. So he's pleased with that. He's also pleased with the balance that the offense has been able to strike. Defensively, his only thing on his wish list is getting some turnovers. Lovie Smith, meanwhile, said we were completely dominated in that first half. They're killing us on the run. Offensively, he stated the obvious. We need points.
They need points. They need first downs. Move the chains, get something going in the way of momentum as they have the football. They hand it to Forte, and the rookie gets it out to the 30. Picked up 4. Michael Montgomery on the stop for Green Bay. And here we are at the beginning of the second half, and the wide receivers have not caught a pass today for Chicago. And maybe no surprise, as Orton and the Bears are going to a no huddle.
Yeah, and they will do this from time to time to try to change up the tempo.
Orton did this in college. He has thrived with this so far this season. Third down and 5. Orton throws and completes. That's Olsen, the tight end. And the second-year pro takes it out to the 40, picked up 10 on third down.
You see Orton, he's making the calls. And just trying to make sure everybody understands, what exactly they're going to run on a third down to go to the no huddle. That's pretty big there. And then you get Greg Olsen on the slant route. Good route by the big guy.
They stay with the no huddle. Orton throws, and that's Forte. Dragged down short of the 45 by just a couple of inches by Brandon Chiller. A gain of 5 on first down.
Yeah, and they're going to stick with this no huddle. They're having some success with it right now. Kyle Orton does a good job. It's not a hurry-up offense, as you can see. They go into a little bit of a sugar huddle. They're able to call all the plays. They can get the call from the sideline still from the coach. He can make sure everybody understands exactly what the call is and then get to the line.
He has one-on-one out to his right, and the pass is broken up and almost intercepted by Aaron Campman as it nearly landed in his arms. Trying to get it to Marty Booker, who was one-on-one out to Orton's right.
Yeah, Ryan Pickett, he's the one who's able to get a hand on it, and Ryan Kempman almost got the turnover that Mike McCarthy was hoping that they would get coming out of the half. Right now when they move the Bears, that is, when they put the tight ends to the outside, as we saw with Greg Olsen converting there on the third down, the Packers have matched up with corners on the tight ends. I'm not so sure Chicago was anticipating that.
Bears huddled up this time before 3rd and 5. Extra men on the rush, and this is an incomplete pass as Kyle Orton ends up on his back. Aaron Campman was in his face, and it's 4th down.
Well, A.J. Hawk, he's doing a pretty good job in coverage. He's locked up here with Matt Forte. Not an easy assignment for him, but he's able to cut him off at the pass, and that's exactly what you want to do. From what I've seen, A.J. Hawk has played pretty well there in the middle today.
Made 6 tackles, and he's been very busy covering Forte out of the backfield.
Yeah, and pass coverage was the area where I thought he might struggle, but he has done a good job even in coverage on a pretty elusive receiver in Matt Forte.
4th punt of the day from Maynard, and a fair catch hauled in by Will Blackman. 36-yard punt. They'll mark it at the 19. That's where the Pack will start with it, up by 14 points. A little windy here at Lambeau in mid-November. And the Packers are getting what they need so far in this game, leading by 14, trying to get back to the 500 mark. Handoff is to Ryan Grant. And Ryan Grant eventually dropped by Kevin Payne, a gain of 5.
You see right here, Mike Brown, he drops down in there, and then he's in the hole, and he's the one who takes the shot. They're on Ryan Grant. He's the 8th guy, and you can't block him. But when you start from that deep, of course, Mike Brown coming downhill, not until after they're able to pick up 5 yards.
Season high 143 rush yards for Green Bay in this game, and coming out of his break is Jennings. And Jennings is out near the 40, a 17-yard completion from Aaron Rodgers.
Well, again, Mike Brown, you're going to see the action in the backfield that gets Mike Brown here coming up. Otherwise, he's going to be underneath this route. As you're going to see, he's trying to work that way to get underneath the comeback, but because of the play action in the backfield, gave a pretty clean lane there for Aaron Rodgers and Greg Jennings.
It is amazing how much a good ground attack will open up through the air for any team. You see it week after week, and that's been the case here today as Jackson slips after he got the handoff and picked up only a yard.
You know, Joe, I think if you're Chicago, I mean, if you look back at where Chicago was last year in run defense, they weren't very good. They were 24th in the NFL in run defense, and I think when they evaluated their team, they said, we got to get better in that area. And before, you know, they still played a lot of 8-man fronts, but they have really committed themselves to that this year. And by doing that, they've opened up things in the passing game, and that's why they've struggled then in that area. Today, they're trying to mix it up as best they can. But the Packers, when they've had the 7-man fronts, have actually run the ball pretty well.
Over the middle, pass is complete. And the tight end, Donald Lee, is good for 6 yards. Short of a first down, and it'll be 3rd and a couple coming up.
I know Donald Lee is disappointed this year that he hasn't gotten more opportunities, and he understands it, but having such a good year last year, coming in this year as a hard worker, expected to have a breakout season. But yet, in talking with Mike McCarthy, he would tell you that the tight end position as a whole is playing better than they ever have since he's been the head coach here.
3rd down and 2.5. We'll call it 3. Play clock about 1 when the Packers get it off, and now Rodgers has to throw it away in the direction of Jordy Nelson. It's 4th down.
Well, the Chicago Bears mixed things up defensively, and the Packers at times were able to make a few plays on that possession, but when it was all said and done, they force a punt, and I think Lovie Smith hit the nail on the head there coming out at half, talking with Pam Oliver. It's time now for them to do something on their side of the ball and put some points on the board.
And maybe for Chicago, it's time now for Devin Hester to do something, returning a punt. 11 return touchdowns last 2 seasons, has not taken one to the house so far in 08. To the point where they're challenging him, punting it to Devin Hester. And he just falls down. Lost his footing, gets to the 20. A 7-yard return by Hester. Bears have it, down by 14. Offensively, it's been a lot of the rookie in the middle, Matt Forte. 16 carries, 64 yards. He came in as the Chicago leading receiver. He's caught 3 passes so far in this game. 10 minutes left. 3rd quarter. And a blitz from Woodson. Down goes Orton.
Charles Woodson comes off his backside, and nobody there to block him. You got Greg Olsen, who looks like he's the one who missed the protection. He should have been the guy on Charles Woodson. Kyle Orton expected him to be picked up, and an easy sack for Charles Woodson.
First sack today by either team. Woodson gets his 2nd of the year. A loss of 8 at 2nd and 18.
Tell you, the Packers have been playing almost exclusively 5 defensive backs defensively.
And here's Olsen. Wrestled down by Al Harris, and a flag comes in on the tackle. Then a flag is thrown from the other side of the field. There are 3 penalty flags laying down there on the field right now. There could be 2 separate fouls on that play. One of them seemed to happen during the tackle by Al Harris on Greg Olsen.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Illegal hands to the face, number 38. That penalty is declined. Personal foul, face mask, number 31, defense. 15 yards, first down.
Well, Al Harris gets a jam here on Greg Olsen, and Greg Olsen kind of went after him as well. And we're going to see if we get the face mask. There it is. His left hand on the mask, and that was a good call by the official as he comes in. Initially, it looked like it might have been some type of horse collar, but a good call there. And what I was saying a little bit earlier is the Packers, the Bears are predominantly a 2 tight end offensive set, and to that, the Packers have played 5 defensive backs.
3rd game back for Al Harris since he missed action with a ruptured spleen. Here's a pass incomplete for Brandon Lloyd, who's missed 5 games with a sprained knee. And Al Harris had not allowed a reception in his direction in the 2 games previous to this one, but they got the one to Olsen, then the foul on top of it. The ball is out across the 35 to the 37, 2nd and 10. Game break is coming up from Kurt. 2nd and 10 for Chicago. Good pocket for Orton, who completes. Pass is complete to Brandon Lloyd. Good for 8. We go to Kurt for a game break.
And Drew Brees' potential record-breaking air assault continues. This time picking up with an open Lance Moore, 47 yards on the score. And now it's a 20-10 Saints lead in the 3rd quarter. Joe?
It's been a disappointing season for New Orleans, to say the least. Leading on the road at KC, 3rd down and 2 for Chicago. Quick setup and throw, and a pass incomplete. Devin Hester. Tramon Williams, who did a good job filling in for the injured Al Harris, was on the coverage, and the coverage was too tight, if you ask Kyle Orton, but no flag is thrown.
Well, man across the board, and they're trying to get it in there to Devin Hester, a better throw, and they're probably able to make that completion. Tramon Williams in coverage, and I know Kyle Orton was hoping that he could get a pass interference call, but I thought it was pretty good coverage, just a better throw, and they're able to convert that one.
These are very physical defensive backs for the Green Bay Packers. Tramon Williams just showed that, and now taking a seat is Will Blackman after a 43-yard punt. They'll mark him down at the 12. Green Bay has it there, up 14. Every once in a while, the rest of us are reminded how, even though we think we may be good athletes, we're not. I dare any of us to try that.
Well,
you
and I
in the Hall of Fame.
We've both had back surgeries. I mean, that hurts just watching.
Handoff is to Ryan Grant, and he slides down the line of scrimmage, gets nothing, and Alex Brown is there to throw him down. 2nd and 10. This is a Chicago defense that came into this game with 20 takeaways. That was tied for 1st in the NFL with Kansas City. And this is a spot where this defense would like to get their 2nd. Urlacher has an interception. His 1st of the year in this game. So 21 total. They'd love one here. Down by 14. Pass is complete to Humphrey. And Humphrey's good for 5. 3rd and 5 coming up.
Well, coming into this game, we were talking about it, Joe, this defensive front and the job that they had not been doing as far as getting after the quarterback, and a little bit surprising. I mean, regardless of what anybody thinks about this secondary and what's happened over the last 4 or 5 ball games and teams that have thrown the ball against them, the Bears have always been about pass pressure. And getting after the quarterback. And yes, teams come in and they want to get the ball out. They get it out quickly, 3-step drops, but they still drop back on 5- and 7-step drops too. And Aaron Rodgers, a lot like Kerry Collins, hasn't gotten hit much today.
Here's a completion to Jennings. He went right by Danielle Manning, and Jennings is good for 29 yards.
Well, they've gone this way a few times. This is the one where Urlacher had the interception earlier. They worked the middle of the field. He's got a clean lane and an easy completion. They run some of that 2-deep coverage, and in the middle, anytime you can get a guy with speed down the middle of the field, and he gave him a nice angle for Aaron Rodgers to be able to put the ball right on him. Greg Jennings, a terrific player, does everything well. A hard-working guy. He's one of the real superstars, up-and-coming guys in this league.
They've gone 3 games without a receiving touchdown. The last 3 weeks, he has one in this game, has the first down, and now Driver gets hit by Mike Brown. Mike Brown's making big hits, but they're coming down the field. That completion to Driver, good for 21.
Well, that's the part of Aaron Rodgers that you get as a guy who can get out, and some quarterbacks struggle with this throw right here to their left. But Aaron Rodgers throws the ball as well as anybody I've seen in the league. I mean, there's others that do it well also. But Aaron Rodgers throws the ball very well to his left outside the pocket.
Here is a completion to Lee, the tight end, as the Packers run a hurry up, or at least a no huddle. And Donald Lee is to the 25, an 8-yard completion.
They come out, they run the ball early in this game. They come out on this possession and want to see what they can get in the passing game, and they've made some nice plays.
Driver, who was kneed earlier in the game and came off. A little hobbled as he gets to the sideline again. Here's Grant, slips. He's about 1.5 yards shy of a first down. Footing not so good on that field here at Lambeau mid-November, and it should only get worse.
We saw Donald Driver going off the field, and now he's back in the ball game, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, but he has really been banged up this year. He's been battling through a turf toe. He got his hand stepped on a couple of weeks ago. That's created some real problems for him, but he says, I never want to let the defense know that I'm hurting.
Here is the fullback, John Kuhn, and Kuhn is brought down right at the marker. Depends on the spot. And it's a first down. First down, Green Bay, and that was picked up by the fullback, John Kuhn. And Kuhn has blocked well, as has Corey Hall in front of Ryan Grant here today.
And has the 5 big guys up front. I mean, this team has been struggling running the football consistently. Aaron Rodgers, as we've discussed, has been getting hit, but today they've had everything working, and a big part of it is because of the play of that offensive line.
Here's Rodgers throwing toward the end zone for Jennings, incomplete. Greg Jennings had Corey Graham across from him down there in coverage for Chicago.
Yeah, and you're going to see Corey Graham right here. And when he gets threatened, he's going to turn his back to the sideline. And anytime a cornerback does that, it opens up the inside breaking routes. And I know that when I was playing as a quarterback, that's the technique that I love to see. It opened up everything that we wanted to do throwing the football. And Aaron Rodgers knew that as well. And he knows that that was a chance, a great chance for a touchdown, and he just didn't make a good throw.
Hand off to Grant. Blocking out in front of him from the rookie Nelson. And Ryan Grant is out of bounds just shy of the goal line. How about the rookie Jordy Nelson blocking downfield?
Well, this game started with Donald Driver getting called for holding on a running play. But these receivers do a good job. You see Urlacher not able to get off a block and make the tackle. But Jordy Nelson, I mean, what a contribution he has made this year for this team.
First and goal from just outside the goal line. Ryan Grant is tripped up in the backfield and knocked down at the 5. A loss of 4 on the play. And good push by this Chicago defensive front actually shoved Clifton back into the running back, Grant.
Yeah, this time they get the push inside. You're going to see College going backwards. And then when that happens and you try to bounce something down around the goal line, these guys are just too good of athletes to outrun people once you've already had to lose ground.
Second down and goal from the 5. Play action. Rodgers flips it. Touchdown, Green Bay. Donald Lee.
Joe, you said it a little bit earlier. I mean, when you get the running game going and then you're able to use the play action, especially down around the goal line, puts a lot of pressure on a defensive unit.
I'll tell you, the Green Bay Packers have their offensive line back today, and they have their young quarterback back today. He has played extremely well after 2 so-so weeks. Very disappointed with his play last week against the Vikings. Aaron Rodgers outstanding today. Packers having fun, leading by 21. What a difference a week makes for Aaron Rodgers. Running game is working, the offensive line is playing well, and he's had time. And when he's had time, he's been able to pick apart this Chicago defense. 3:01 left in the third quarter, and now Green Bay up 21. Devin Hester to the 20, and that's it. Leroy Butler invented the Lambeau Leap back in the early 90s. He was honored before today's game, and honoring him after the touchdown is Donald Lee. 21-24-3 Green Bay. Green Bay Packers trying to even their record at 5-5. Coming trailing both Chicago and Minnesota in the NFC North. Orton trying to buy some time, throws it into the ground, and a penalty flag comes in. Devin Hester, the intended receiver, and Orton's having a tough time moving around.
Holding, number 67, offense. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Josh Beekman, the left guard, guilty of a hold.
You know what the Packers are doing is they're matching up. They're playing almost exclusively 5 defensive backs, and when they split out these tight ends, whether it's Greg Olsen or Desmond Clark, they put defensive backs on them. That time, Kyle Orton wanting to come out to Greg Olsen on the throw, but Al Harris in coverage, and you know that's advantage Green Bay there.
And one of the reasons they can do it is because Chicago really doesn't have a threat at wide receiver. Orton just throws it into the ground. I mean, their roster, you start looking at the talent on the roster, and as far as Orton's concerned, the talent is at the tight end position.
No doubt. And you look at them coming into this game, only 13 receptions separated the leading receiver, which was Matt Forte, from the number 5 receiver on this team. And so what that tells you is they spread the ball around. But if you're going to go 2 tight end and they're going to play exclusively 5 defensive backs, then to me, you should be running the football, and you should be running the football well.
Scoreboard doesn't help that now, down 21. Under 3 to play in the third quarter. Here is Forte on second down. Makes the catch back to the original line of scrimmage, and we go for a game break. Here's Kurt Menefee.
A rough day for Donovan McNabb in Cincinnati. Now, he did throw a touchdown pass on the last drive, but this pick by Chris Crocker, his 3rd interception of the day. He's also fumbled away a ball. All of the Bengals points off of McNabb turnovers, and right now it's a 3-point Cincinnati lead. Back to Joe, Troy, and Penn.
All right, we'll keep checking in on that game, a big one in the NFC. Same for the Giants, who are in that battle with the Baltimore Ravens. 3rd and 11. A blitz. Orton steps up and throws too high for Desmond Clark. 4th down.
Yeah, I'm not sure who that ball was really intended for. You're right, Joe. I mean, it's a high throw if it's going to Desmond Clark. If it's going to the outside, it looked like it might have been right on the money. Brandon Chiller able to come inside of the pass rush, put a big hit on Kyle Orton.
I'm going to say something that will make Chicago fans scratch their head, but I think you have to think about putting Rex Grossman in this game. Only because he can move a little bit. Here you are down by 21. Orton is probably your best long-range quarterback the rest of the season, and he is becoming a sitting duck back there for this Packers pass rush. The punt by Maynard is going to be tapped down at the 42. And that's where Green Bay will get it, leading by 21, and just about every phase of the game for the Green Bay Packers is working so far in this game. We can maybe save the offensive talk for the next time the Bears have the football. This has really been a nice bounce back game for this Packer offense.
Yes, it has. And I think that looking at this team coming into this year, high expectations, and we talk about it a lot. You know, when you have a great year, what do you do the following year? And most teams aren't able to then come back and play as well. And Green Bay has not. They've been inconsistent. But if you are as good a football team as what Green Bay thinks they are, and I still believe they're a very solid team, then this is a game really that is a must win, even though mathematically they're still very much alive if they were to lose this game.
Here is a pass complete to Greg Jennings. He has 10. I agree with you. I think as far as the most balanced team is concerned in the NFC North, I would give that nod to the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, you look at Minnesota, they're very good in their defense with defending the run. They've got the great running back in Adrian Peterson. There's question marks with Gus Frerotte at quarterback. You look at Chicago, the defense really hasn't played well. They haven't defended the pass well, and they really have no threats on the outside offensively as far as both phases of the game. I think Green Bay is the most balanced team in the NFC North. Second down and inches. And Ryan Grant actually lost half a yard. Lance Briggs on the stop for Chicago.
Well, I think the only real concern, if you're looking at Green Bay, would be their run defense. And, you know, I'm not one of those that always believes, hey, you got to run the football, you got to stop the run, but you also can't allow teams then to rush for 200 yards against and 5 yards per carry, which has been the case for them, you know, most of this year. But if they can begin to solidify that, and today they've done a much better job, but if they can continue to get better there, I don't think there's any question that looking at them on paper anyway, you'd say this is the best team in the world.
I would also say the Packers have the best quarterback in the division, with Aaron Rodgers completing it to Humphrey, and the catch is made for a first down. Israel Adonijah is going back onto the field saying that Humphrey was bobbling it as he went to the ground, not securing it before going out of bounds. Let's take a look.
That was a pretty good catch there by Torrey Humphrey, just being able to pull that one in. But, you know, looked to me like that was a good call, and saying that he had the reception. You know, they've got as many weapons on their group as anybody. You know, when you consider what they have at tight end, they've gotten more active today, and then obviously at wide receiver.
We are through 3 quarters at Lambeau. Green Bay with a ball and a 21-point lead. On the ground and through the air, the Green Bay Packers offense has done the job here today, and a lot of that starts obviously with the group up front. And the combination of Scott Wells, the center, Spitz and College, the guards, Tauscher and Clifton, the tackles, much better this week. And a 21-point lead for Green Bay. First down Packers, and the handoff is to Ryan Grant, who gains 3. And here's a look at that group.
As you can tell, they've done a great job up front, and then they've protected Aaron Rodgers, and then they've completed some passes, and they're getting the passing game going. And, you know, coming into the game, we saw Chicago, they were trying to help their pass coverage, but then Green Bay got the running game going, something that teams had not been able to do. But, you know, they haven't been able to stop anything here today, whereas before it was just the passing game. Today they haven't stopped the running game or the passing game.
Second down and 6, and Grant's to the 40. Yeah, this has to be This has to be a pretty disturbing day for Lovie Smith, watching his defense play like this in an important game here in Green Bay.
Well, it's got to be, and I just think that if you look at last year, this was a defense that was not very good. They finished up the year 28th in total defense. The year prior to Bob Babbage taking over as defensive coordinator, they were 5th in the league in total defense, and that carried them on to the Super Bowl with not much offense. But since that time, I don't know exactly what it is, but I do believe that Ron Rivera did not get enough credit, the former defensive coordinator, for the job that he did.
And now he's getting a crack at that job for the San Diego Chargers as Donald Lee makes the catch. And Lee's got enough for a first down to the 35-yard line. 8 different receivers Aaron Rodgers has completed passes to so far in this game.
Well, this is what Donald Lee, he envisioned when he came into the year. He's getting some throws today. He's got the touchdown reception. Doing a nice job.
Referee Walt Anderson now, as they place the ball down, is trying to make sure they move the ball back maybe a couple of inches. Might still have enough for the first down, Donald Lee. But we'll bring the chains out, measure, and by a couple of inches, it's 4th down. I'm not so sure about that spot, but it's 4th and inches now. And this crowd is begging the Packers to go for it, and they will.
Yeah, to me, this is a no-brainer. You know, where they're at on the field, and then also just the simple fact that this offensive line has really handled the defensive front for Chicago.
So 4th and inches, and I mean inches, about 2. And another opportunity for this offensive line to do its thing here today.
Now the big question is, you run a quarterback sneak with a quarterback who's got a separated shoulder.
The answer is yes, and first down Green Bay.
I guess they figure that he got out of last week's game without injuring it any worse after all the hits he took. What's the little quarterback sneak going to do for him?
That was one of your favorite plays, wasn't it?
We didn't even have it in for the first 6 years I was in the league.
You didn't have a quarterback sneak.
No.
Well,
when you get the fullback in there, he's going to move the pile as well.
It's John Kuhn who was pushing Aaron Rodgers from behind, and that was good enough.
I don't know if that just says they didn't think I was very tough, or maybe they thought I was important. I think it was the first one.
I think Jimmy was protecting his investment, as was Jerry Jones, as the pass is complete to Jermichael Finley, who got a lesson a couple of weeks ago into how to deal with the media. The NFL on Fox next Sunday. The doubleheader: San Francisco at Dallas, Philadelphia at Baltimore, Tampa Bay at Detroit, Minnesota at Jacksonville, and these Bears will be in St. Louis. The late games: the Giants at Arizona, Washington at Seattle, and Carolina will visit Atlanta in an important game in the NFC South. Rodgers throws, and what a catch coming out of the break, and that's Greg Jennings, who had to reach for it. Wow.
That was a great catch by Greg Jennings. Now Aaron Rodgers wants to put this on his back shoulder, not that far away, but man, what body control Greg Jennings has in order to come back and make that play. And I'm reminded in visiting with Brett Favre last year, and I was talking to him about Greg Jennings. He said he knew Greg Jennings was special the very first time he threw him a ball, and the way that he went after it and all the skills that he brings. And Donald Driver said the same thing about Jordy Nelson the other day. Thinks he's going to be as special as what Greg Jennings is.
Handoff is to Grant. And Grant just plows his way down to the 16.
Tackled by Mike Brown.
And I'll just say it again. This for Chicago is a really disappointing day defensively, as Green Bay has just imposed their will on the Bears in this matchup here in Week 11.
And if you're the Chicago Bears defense, I mean, where do you go from here? You know, each week it's been something, and it's primarily, as we said, it was the pass defense, but you know, today it's just been a manhandling by this Packer offense.
2nd down and 1. Grant over the right side, and Grant is knocked down right at the marker. Might be a hair short. Adonijay and Urlacher in on the stop, and it will be 3rd down and inches for Green Bay with under 10.5 to play. Yeah, how many guys, when we talked to Lovie Smith about his defense, The answer was, well, he's not really playing as well as he needs to. He needs to play better. There was a list of players in that category, and he'll be saying the same thing leading into next week's game at St. Louis.
Well, and I do think that's fair. You know, I mean, you try to put players in a position, but at the end of the day, it's the players that have to be able to execute.
How about 3rd and inches? They go for it to Lee, and it's incomplete. Good throw by Rodgers, broken up by Payne. Corey Graham was there as well, defending for Chicago, and now 4th and inches, and Green Bay will take the points.
Good play call there. Offensively, short yardage situation, and they go play action and really had a chance and should have probably been caught. Went right in the hands of Donald Lee, and he's just not able to pull it in.
On top of that, this officiating crew missed a hold as Corey Graham had a handful of Donald Lee's jersey as he went by him, and now after hitting from 53, this from 33, and Crosby, that's automatic for him. So 3 more points and a 24-point lead for the Packers, who are on their way back to the 500 mark. $24-point lead for Green Bay. And they're rolling out the barrel here at Lambeau Field. Crowd serenading their Packers as Green Bay has had a game where all phases have worked. And now Danielle Manning, not Devin Hester, is waiting deep for this kickoff from Crosby. Manning shows off some good speed, crossed the 25, and he's knocked down at the 28. 23-yard return. Hall on the stop, and Kyle Orton will return at quarterback, down by 24. You looked at me funny, Troy, when I said earlier that the Bears should think about taking Kyle Orton out of this game, and I didn't say that then, or don't say it now because of performance, but rather for preservation.
Right.
I mean, he's got the bad right ankle. He's not able to move very well, and he's been a sitting duck back there as Rasheed Davis makes a catch, making moves in the open field, and forced out inside the 40. They'll mark him at the 36, and that's a 36-yard completion for Rasheed Davis. But I think for the Chicago Bears, their best hope down the stretch is to have as healthy a Kyle Orton as they can have. And if he gets one bad hit, this could really set him back.
Yeah, their only hope is a healthy Kyle Orton, no doubt.
On first down, he steps up and throws for Booker and overthrows both Booker and Tremont Williams. 2nd and 10.
And because of that, I would agree with you, Joe. I mean, my guess is that if they're not able to do anything on this possession or come away with a touchdown, that we would probably get then Rex Grossman coming in off the bench, because the last thing that the Bears can have happen is get that ankle any worse than what it already is and have him miss any more time.
We saw it right at the beginning of the game where he got a little bit of a hit from Aaron Campbell and came up really gimpy on that bad right ankle. They want Orton healthy for a date at the struggling Rams next week. What a good play by Chiller. First-year Green Bay Packer, former Ram, and he makes the play on Matt Forte, a loss of 4.
Yeah, Chiller, you know, he was getting some playing time prior to even the injury to Nick Barnett when they went into their nickel packages. And, you know, talking with the coaches, they were looking for opportunities to get him more playing time. Unfortunately, it took Nick Barnett going down to get Brandon Chiller on the field more often, but he's a good cover guy, and he's gotten to play a lot today because, as I said, they've only gone with 2 linebackers, A.J. Hawk and Chiller there in the middle. Everything else is defensive backs on the back end.
Here's Forte underneath on 3rd down, and he makes the catch, picks up 4. Chiller on the stop there. And now it's 4th down, and down by 24, obviously. The Chicago Bears are trying to pick up a 1st down.
You know, and talking about those linebackers for Green Bay, I think Nick Barnett is a terrific middle linebacker, but to me, he always looked like he was more a prototypical weak side linebacker because of his size, whereas A.J. Hawk, you know, such a big physical guy, to me, he seems better equipped to man the middle, and he's done a good job of it today out of that nickel package.
And now Chicago has to use a timeout. Play clock winding down. The Bears take a timeout, and they will talk about a 4th down. We'll have the play when we come back to Lambeau. Fourth down and 10 for the Chicago Bears, down by 24. That's Devin Hester. Penalty flag on the play. Over the middle, it's picked off, but a flag is down and may be offside against Green Bay. As it is, it's Nick Collins with another interception. If it stands, it's his 6th, and now another flag comes in. Kyle Orton had to make the tackle, but there are 2 separate fouls on that last play. Certainly looked at the beginning of the play like Green Bay jumped offside, and Orton is gimpy after having to make the tackle on that interception. And then a flag came in at the end of the return by Nick Collins, who already has 3 touchdowns returning interceptions for this Green Bay defense, and that would be his 6th interception of the year if it stands.
Well, Kyle Orton, at 4th and 10, he's just trying to pick up the first down. Didn't do any good to throw the ball short. Tried forcing one into Lloyd.
There are fouls by both teams. Offside, number 96, defense. During the return of the interception, tripping number 18 of the offense. Those fouls will offset. We'll replay 4th down.
So we go back to the offside. And they get Montgomery for jumping across too early. And then after the interception, here's Orton trying to figure out a way to make the tackle. And that's the good ankle that comes around to bring down Nick Collins.
Was the good ankle.
Yeah. And now the pain's evened out. And look at the face of Orton. It's 4th down and 10. And he gets another crack at it. Drops the snap. It's kicked by Campman, picked up by Hunter. Jason Hunter down the field, and it's another Green Bay defensive touchdown.
He's probably not used to that Lambeau leap.
But this is a Green Bay defense that's used to taking it back for scores. The 9th return touchdown this season. It factors in 2 punt returns for touchdowns, and that's the most in franchise history.
Yeah, Orton just drops the ball, and then Brandon Chiller, he's going to make the key block. That allows Hunter to get all the way into the end zone. Otherwise, it looked like Hunter was going to get caught from behind. Yeah, just another great defensive play by the Packers. We've seen this all season long.
It's also the 7th return touchdown for this defense in particular, taking those punt returns out. A Packer record, and you know the history that Green Bay has had with this franchise. Hunter scores, does the leap, and it's a complete rout here in Green Bay. Mike McCarthy got his team prepared for this game, had a good week of practice with Aaron Rodgers and Chad Clifton getting a lot of work during the week. Rex Grossman is about to take over at quarterback for Chicago. Daniel Manning is waiting for it. Will he get his hands on it? He gets his legs on it and somehow gets it off the ground and turns in a good return for Chicago out across the 45 near midfield.
Wow.
Daniel Manning hasn't quit.
No, he hasn't. That was all him, too. Looked like they had him right there. You got Crosby coming over. He gets a hand on him, but right there, he just moves the pile on his own. A great individual effort. A little help from a Donajay.
Here is Rex Grossman. Is that a good start over on the sideline warming up?
I hope he was trying to do that.
Is that categorized as auspicious or inauspicious?
I'll let the Bear fans decide on that one.
Wow. So Orton will watch the rest of this one, and here is Peterson carrying his penalty flag on the play. And whether it's the Adrian Peterson of the Minnesota Vikings or the Adrian Peterson of the Chicago Bears, the Packers have a tough time.
76 offense, 10-yard penalty, still first down.
That's John Tate, and that's his first holding penalty of the season. 34-3, Rex Grossman takes over, and Kyle Orton, again, this is just to try and keep him as healthy as possible, pointed to the rest of the schedule. This is the beginning of a 3-game road trip, so to speak, if you have road trips in the NFL, as Chicago will not only leave here, go home, then get ready for a game in St. Louis, but then they've got the Vikings at the end of the month.
Well, that injury originally they were saying it was going to be 3 to 4 weeks. He missed one game. You just hope that he didn't re-injure it or re-aggravate it to where he misses time.
Rex Grossman is in trouble. Buys some time and throws it away. Grossman, who is 3-0, starting for the Bears here at Lambeau Field, chucked it out of bounds, and it's 2nd and 13. Rex got the start last week in place of the injured Kyle Orton. Was okay, but could not do enough to get the Chicago Bears a win over Tennessee. Threw 1 interception, 1 touchdown, was 20 of 37 for 173 yards, and there are his numbers for the season. Rex, who is 19-12 as a starter in the NFL, steps up and hits Peterson out of the backfield. Brought down from behind by Hawk, who's had a nice day. Good for 7. Here's Kurt with a game break.
Lions at Carolina, still looking for that first win. Dante Culpepper with a dive makes it a 2-point game. So, of course, you go for 2, right? What do? Culpepper on the draw. Goal line hit. Ball pops out. He doesn't get in. It's 24-22. Carolina with the lead. 6 minutes left. Joe and Troy.
All right, Kurt, thanks. 3rd down and 6 here. Grossman throws, and Devin Hester, coming out of his break pass, was behind him, working on Al Harris, who finally became a Pro Bowler last year. Troy, this guy's been one of the best cornerbacks in the league for a long time.
A long time, and I played against him when he was their nickel corner in Philadelphia, and I thought he was one of the best corners that I faced at that time, and he couldn't even crack that lineup. And when he came here to Green Bay, he's been outstanding, and as you said, making his first Pro Bowl last year. And I'll tell you what, the guy who plays opposite of him, Charles Woodson, I'd be shocked if he doesn't make the Pro Bowl this year. Should have made it the last couple of years, but definitely should this season.
4th and 6 underneath, pass complete but short of a first down. That's Adrian Peterson, a 3-yard completion, and Green Bay will take over on downs.
I'll tell you what, I think Green Bay is going to have to be pretty pleased with the job A.J. Hawk has done. You know, a little bit different because they ran so much of their 5 defensive backs nickel package that he wasn't truly in the middle, as he will be when they go to their base package, 4 down linemen and 3 linebackers. But I thought he did a good job. Good job in coverage. Good job of making the calls, which is something that's new for him. Nick Barnett generally is the guy who makes the defensive calls. A.J. now absorbing those responsibilities, but he played well.
So Green Bay will feature more of their running game, which has been outstanding here today. Ryan Grant gets 3. How about Green Bay and their schedule? These two teams, by the way, will meet again in Chicago, second to last week of the season. But coming up in the immediate future, at New Orleans, at home against Carolina here, at home against Houston, before they're at Jacksonville, at Chicago, and then they host Detroit.
Well, and I'll tell you, Joe, in talking with Mike McCarthy and really all the players and other coaches since we've been here, for a team that was 4-5 coming into this game in a really big game, nobody was panicking. I think they still feel very good about this ball club.
Here's Ryan on 2nd down, gets back to the line of scrimmage. And Israeli Donajay is there to make the stop for Chicago. 5 minutes to play. Clock continues to wind.
And if they came into this game feeling pretty good about their team, then they leave this game feeling really good about their team. You look at those numbers and just an absolute domination statistically in every way. And they wanted to come out in this ball game and play well and reestablish themselves as a contender here, not only in this division, but also within this conference.
See, Miami came back and beat Oakland. Tampa Bay leading at home over Minnesota. So you could have 3 teams at 5-5 at the top of the NFC North as James Jones makes the catch, and on 3rd down, the Chicago defense can't get off the field as Jones is good for a 1st down. Green Bay.
Well, a week ago, as I said in the first quarter, for an offense that only converted 1 3rd down against Minnesota, 1 of 11. Today they've been much better in that regard, and that's why they've had the time of possession the way that they've had. They've run the football and they've converted on 3rd down.
They lead by 31. Here's Jackson. Brandon Jackson breaks loose and then stiff arms Payne and brings it down inside the 30. 19-yard carry by Brandon Jackson.
Brandon Jackson had not been given a lot of opportunities running the football prior to coming into this game, but when he's gotten the ball today, he's made the most of it. A good job of putting his foot in the ground and not running out of bounds. Wanting to keep the clock running and get as many yards as he can, and fights off Payne for a few extra.
Troy, Green Bay has run the ball for 200 yards here today against the Bears defense.
And last week they gave up 20 yards to one of the best rushing offenses in the National Football League.
It was the Titans who came in 3rd in the NFL in average rushing yards per game. They shut them down last week. Cannot handle the Green Bay run game here today. This January, Fox once again brings you the greatest week in college football. FedEx Orange Bowl, Allstate Sugar Bowl, Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, and the FedEx BCS National Championship game. College football's biggest games this January here on Fox. Jackson, who gets to the 25. Head coach Mike McCarthy has not beaten the Chicago Bears here at Lambeau. Lovie Smith had come in 4-0 here in Green Bay facing the Green Bay Packers. Well, McCarthy will get his first win here at home against Chicago. Lovie Smith will suffer his first loss as head coach of the Chicago Bears in his 5th year here in Green Bay. And one team is trending up after today, and Lovie Smith's team, they're going to have to search for some answers. Although they get a scheduling break as next week they're in St. Louis to take on a Rams team that is really playing poorly. Brandon Jackson loses 2. Alex Brown on the tackle for Chicago. 2 minutes left in this game at Lambeau. All Green Bay today leading by 31. Back after this. (34-3). Green Bay leading. 2 minutes left in this game. And on 4th down, a 45-yard try here by Crosby. He is 3 for 3.
Offside, number 33, defense. Penalty has declined. Field goes good.
There was Tillman trying to get a jump on it and block the try. 45-yard try by Crosby's good. He's hit from 53, 33. So he's perfect on the day. And with 1:56 left to play, we'll remind you that coming up after our game, it's the Fox NFL Sunday postgame show presented by AT&T. They reveal the latest BCS standings. Another wild weekend of college football. Find out where each team ranks. Plus, you can get highlights from all of today's NFL action The NFL on Fox Sunday postgame show is coming up right after our game. So Chicago will get the ball back, and Rex Grossman will have another go at it. In what is a 34-point game, and a lot of smiles on that sideline. Aaron Rodgers and his wide receivers. Here is Danielle Manning. He's been impressive returning kicks. Devin Hester was not. And Danielle Manning with a good return of 30 yards. A minute 51 left, and Rex Grossman is back to the huddle. Today's game is being produced by Richie Zients, directed by Artie Kemner. Technical producer is Joe Stevens. Technical director is Colby Bourgeois. Steve Horn is our editorial consultant here in the booth, and Freddie Aldis is our audio mixer. More names to come after this first play from Grossman and the Bears offense. Out of the shotgun, Rex gets away from Aaron Campman, buys a little time, and now will throw to the middle of the field, and he's almost picked off by Williams. Intended for Devin Hester, and Tramon Williams almost came up with his 5th interception of the season.
Well, Rex Grossman just does a good job of avoiding the sack there and trying to make something happen and find somebody that can get a little separation in the secondary. That's hard to come by against this secondary of the Green Bay Packers.
So 2nd down and 10 with a minute 41 left. Garrett Wolf gets his first carry of the day. And Wolf picks up 9.5 yards, depend on the spot. They're going to give Chicago a first down. Clock continues to wind. The associate directors of our group, Greg Scopatoni, Judy Wong. Broadcast associates Rich Gross and Bentley Elliott. Before a first down play from Chicago. Pass complete to Lloyd. Brandon Lloyd makes the catch, avoids a hit, and picks up 9. 2nd and 1. New Orleans has extended their lead to 10 points in that game in Kansas City. Denver beat Atlanta. Here's Garrett Wolf. And he fights his way forward. Depends on the spot again. They're going to give Chicago a first down. Studio show is produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Bob Levy. Highlights coordinator Janice Casaza. Studio technical supervisor Jack Simmons, and the supervisor of remote field operations Jerry Steinberg. And then the bosses. Here is a completion to Hester. Nice catch. And Rex Grossman is trying to move his Bears team down the field and get something done before the end of the day. Senior producer of Fox Sports Bill Brown. The executive producers of Fox Sports Ed Bourne and David Hill. That will do it. Your day is over. Lambeau Field, and Troy, this was a dominant effort here today by Aaron Rodgers and the entire Green Bay team.
Well, it sure was, and I think the Packers got to feel awfully good about the way their team came out and played in this ball game and dominated a pretty good football team.
Plenty of Lambeau leaps here today for this Green Bay team, both offensively and defensively. Back in a minute.